Lawsome by Consultwebs. Breakthrough insights to build a thriving law firm with your host, Tanner Jones.
Today on our show, we're talking with Monica Tarantino about a successful career woman in a leadership position. Monica is a digital marketing manager here at Consultwebs and has led many individuals and teams to success over the course of her career. Monica, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Women in leadership. I love this topic, and I think you are the perfect candidate to be able to approach this topic.
Well, thank you. It's certainly a fun topic.
It absolutely is going, and I'm going to challenge you on a few of these, hopefully. But I think because this is a growing topic, it would be good to start with your career. What have you seen specifically in the change for women in the workplace since you started, and where has that come to where it is today?
Wow. I entered the workforce at a long time before digital began. So around, 1996, right? Where I started working on AOL and doing Netscape. And so women in technology or in digital marketing at that point in time was very rare. And for a woman to teach themselves, like I did, everything that you needed to know about coding, about digital, about bandwidth, things like that, was just unheard of. Or organizations or education was not available to get hands-on training. You devoted most of your time to learning when you could. And I was also planning a wedding, trying to get married, trying to balance that stuff. So it's definitely changed in the opportunities that are available for women in general, and how there's support teams, there's websites, there's podcasts, there's just so many more things that are available nowadays that, wow, I had a few young women join my team this week, and I'm impressed at the knowledge and what they bring with them already, just uncanned, ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, you talked about, you mentioned, starting a family, and I want to get to that because I do think that is arguably the elephant in the room around this conversation, that it's worth exploring. But I want to talk about the challenges specifically, because that for listeners who are listening here and wanting to gain added perspective, on this big topic, what are some of the biggest challenges you've faced personally in the process of advancing in your career, and maybe talk specifically on how you overcame those obstacles?
That one elephant would be that work-life balance. You have, as a female, as a mom, it was very much imposter syndrome. Can I do this job? And then motherhood was different for me and my husband as far as parents goes, because we adopted. So this was another choice. It wasn't just sprung on us. It was definitely something that we had to think about. And can I balance it? And could I do that? So that the biggest challenge was always that work-life balance and becoming a parenthood. And then taking that into account was basically learning how to work with my husband and, at the time, my employer, to balance all that and to discuss and to be vulnerable when I didn't want to be vulnerable. As a woman, you're already seen as the weaker sex. So to go and say, hey, I can do all this, but I need to do it at home after hours, or I have a school meeting to attend, because in those early years of marriage, a while ago, almost 22 years ago, it was very much a male-dominated society where the husband is the breadwinner, the woman is secondary and takes care of the kids. Very old-fashioned, but that's how I entered the workforce. Times have changed where it was very much going back and forth, helping each other out, employer and relationship-wise, to overcome those challenges. And then learning how to trust team members. And that's where leadership comes in. And one of our directors here, Eric Welk, gave me a phrase a long time ago, and it stuck, delegate to elevate. And so as long as I delegated, he gave them the opportunity to do better and to rise to the occasion. So I think that's how we've overcome a lot of that, is just learning to trust and to share and be vulnerable, things of that nature.
Monica, what trends do you see playing out that have helped either you or other women realize their dreams of having a successful career, essentially having both of what you're talking about, a strong family life and a successful career?
The biggest trend that I see, especially here at Consultwebs, where I work, I mean, it's my place of 5 years as of right now, just how women empower other women, whether it's helping each other out, sharing the challenges that we're facing, the other managers or the other team members, just helping each other and relying on one another. My son is 21 and gone. So I now have that time where I have some coworkers who are pregnant. They're embracing motherhood. And I said, you know what? Let's just share that load. Let's do it together. I'll lean on me and we'll get through this and go from there. So that's where I'm seeing is how we're becoming a tighter community. And again, not just here at Consultwebs, but just everybody, every female that I know embraces their womanhood and is just helping each other out. And that's a big trend.
And how do you see that impacting the workforce? I mean, do you feel like there are major trends that are coming from that are leading?
Well, COVID-19 definitely set a precedence. Now, Consultwebs, we have been remote since we began, and that already gave us an advantage. And that was an opportunity that I sought when I was still raising my son when he was in second grade, was being able to be remote. And then having an employer recognize that I could do more than one thing. I could go to a school meeting, come back, and have a successful digital marketing career as far as getting things done. And it still holds true to that. So the trends that I'm seeing are that employers are becoming more aware of how much a woman truly is a multitasker. It's already getting the laundry done, taking care of the mother-in-law, and working on your clients, which help a woman not apologize for that. Prior, like I mentioned, there was an imposter syndrome, and now you don't need to feel like an imposter. You're definitely juggling those different hats as you need to, especially for the employer. So the trend there is that employers are recognizing that females in the workforce are assets and not liabilities because they're getting pregnant and they're moving out or they're going to be gone for maternity leave. Those days should be gone in theory.
100%. And it's good to shift gears here, specifically around your leadership style. Monica, I've seen you personally just fulfill major accomplishments within Consultwebs and for your clients. And you do that through a strong team and through quality leadership capabilities. But specifically, I'm interested to hear how you describe your own leadership style or management style.
It's funny because I can describe my leadership style by what my team tells me, and my teams have told me. I'm less of a boss and more of a human. All right, I'm a peer. As much as I'm their leader or their manager, I'm in the trenches with them, no matter what. And again, we have the humdrum life of, okay, today I'm going to do 300 redirects from a website pointing to a new page. Monica, I don't feel like doing it. You know what? I'll do it. I got some time. I can knock it out. Really? You'll do that? Yes. So to lead with your team, be with your team in the trenches, I think is a great experience, but also investing time in their professional and personal life. At a younger age, I started off being a manager quite young. It was a talent, I guess, that I didn't see in myself, but at the time, one of my former bosses, Mr. Lohman, was like, Monica, I think you could lead a team at 22. And I said, sure, okay. And then just learning those boundaries of how to invest in personal life and how to invest in professional and teach them and talk. So definitely investing in my team and never holding them back and establishing that trust. And when I say not holding them back, if they want to leave and do better things in their mind because they see a different dream from themselves, and encourage that dream. And more often than not, that encourages loyalty. They're like, oh, can't leave Monica. And for the most part, they don't. Or if they do, and not to be, false about it, they'll maintain a relationship and just circle back. I have interns that I have worked with, 20 years ago, and they still come back and say, hey, what do you have to, do you have anything? Can you think of me here? Or what do you think about this? So it's those relationships. And the same thing with clients. We've had some fun clients in our past that have been more often than not, I would say, prickly pears. And I have to deliver some bad news or tell them something's not great. But the relationship is there to where they might get upset, but they're still going to respect the professionalism that I have with them. And then I try to impart that with the team, as well as with clients, just being mature about it and being direct when needed. And again, boundaries. You can only share so much with the client. They love it, but and same thing with team members, boundaries.
Boundaries are obviously important. And I mean, regardless, coming back down to just the meat of it, leading teams to be successful is a complex, challenging thing. There are obstacles that come up, and naturally, you being in the digital world, what challenges are you facing or have you faced in leading teams toward success? What are those? Maybe speak to some examples of that and what you've done or what your team has done to overcome those.
It's all about staying sharp. The challenge, especially with digital, which is different from many different professional services, is that it's always changing. There's no real roadmap. Google may give us a quality raters guide, but that's going to change in 2 years, or an algorithm gets released and everything that we thought we knew, especially as digital marketers, has changed. And so I can show you the number of books and pieces of paper and sites that I've bookmarked just to try to read to keep on top of things. And it's a constant knowledge share, and trying to impart that knowledge not only on my teammates by sharing articles and talking about it, but asking questions. Many professionals, managers don't want to seem ignorant or admit to not knowing something. But more often than not, I have found by asking those questions and asking my team, okay, who's the smart one that can understand this? Because I'm not grasping it. They are more than willing to take the time to share, and it imparts confidence on them, which again establishes trust and is a very great thing when it comes to just leadership. But reading, trying to stay up with everything is just so difficult, and making time. So you find yourself often at the gym, reading on your phone, listening to a podcast, and unfortunately, maybe working a little too many hours just to fit everything in that you want to fit in to be well prepared.
Monica, you talked about the longevity of your career, and you've been able to see some trends over time. But what generational differences have you seen as you lead your team members in different age groups? And obviously in digital, we have a lot of the younger generational groups as well as all the way up. So what have you seen there?
On a funny note, I'm old enough to be some of my team members' mother. So that's just, one of those things. I'm like, oh my gosh, y'all guys have no idea. They don't understand my Star Wars references or my Ferris Bueller movie quotes. But you know what? It's definitely something that I love proudly to be different from them. I don't feel older, and I think that's what helps in marketing and leadership, is being able to think like my team does. Yes, they are younger, and for the most part, many of my teams throughout my career have been younger because I'm willing, and I think it goes to personality style. Each manager is different of how willing you're able to adapt and overcome. And so by adapting to the digital trends and still being somewhat immature in my personal life and putting together Lego, it's something that keeps me in the now with my current team, and invested. Then on the other side of that is I've seen clients who, for lack of a better term, don't exactly like millennials because they feel that millennials do not have the knowledge of someone my age. And I'm not old, I'm older, but it's definitely something where you hope that older generations understand that just because someone is younger or doesn't have that educational background of going to law school, in our particular case, they still come with so much information regarding things that we don't understand. I mean, even it's just amazing to me, the generational gaps, but how they just adapt as well as we do to everything and anything.
That's it. And obviously, as I've seen you do, a great leader ultimately taps into the collective intelligence of the team and the strengths and the skill sets you referenced earlier, the need to just stay on your toes, of finding what's new. And it seems as though the younger generations are known for being fearless in research and testing and, trying different things, which is probably a big driver on why the internet has become so complex with so many different social platforms. But that's a conversation for another day.
I know. Remember encyclopedias? It's like, that's where our research went. Encyclopedias. Shush, I'm probably old enough to be one of your moms too, so it's okay.
If you could go back in time, Monica, what advice would you give yourself, in just starting a career and not knowing what you know now? In those early days, what would be a huge piece of perspective that you would have loved or heard?
Set clear expectations. I'm a dreamer. I am such a dreamer. My husband is definitely the anchor in which this dreamer can skyrocket. So when I say dreamer, is I can always make things bigger and better. And the expectations that I set for myself then, wow. But if I had grounded myself a little bit better, I think some of the I wouldn't have taken the failures so hard, and I would have probably given myself more credit for those, big challenges that I overcame, whether it was motherhood or learning something or learning code back in the day. So it's just, set my expectations just a little bit lower, be more realistic than the dreamer that I am. Not that it's bad, but I think it would have helped set me up for understanding the world a little bit better.
If you could step into my shoes, what's one question that you would have asked yourself that I missed?
Good question. I don't know.
That's a challenge.
It is, because this is Tanner, this is Tanner. Tanner knows all. Tanner is good. I guess it's like, how do you set yourself apart from all the others? Right? And in a day and age where resumes and LinkedIn's and Instagrams are somewhat similar outside of whatever content you're pushing, how do you make yourself different? What makes you different than any other manager or leader out there? So that's a good question I'd probably ask myself. It's like, what separates me from others? My randomness, who knows, but.
Monica, any closing thoughts or advice that would benefit legal professionals in our audience?
Find yourself a mentor. And when I say when we talk about legal professionals, mentor, but there's always going to be someone that you can look up to so that you can, frame your business, frame your firm, your management style around, and ask them the questions. They will see you in ways that you don't see yourself. And it's always great to have them give you that feedback that is honest, that is true. I always ask my team members, is there anything I can do better for you? How do I set you up for success? And peeling back those layers and having that mentor help you get to that level where you can ask others how you can serve them better definitely helps with your leadership style and with your management of everything and anything.
Monica, this has been so very enjoyable. Thank you for joining us. If for those of you who want to get in touch with Monica, would you mind sharing your contact information?
Sure. The best way to contact me would be via my email here at Consultwebs. So that's mtarantino@consultwebs-email.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn as Monica Tarantino, or even on Twitter. @Monica Tarantino is my handle, and I usually tweet a lot about digital marketing and some fun stuff about music. So that's it.
Lawsome by Consultwebs with Tanner Jones. For show notes, links, and info, go to consultwebs.com/podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Watch for the next Lawsome episode to discover more breakthrough insights to build a thriving law firm.